Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast, where we sit down, watch a movie, and give our own silly little takes. My name is Devin, and my favorite book from when I was younger is The Outsiders.
My name's Jacob. I'm kind of torn. Last two books I read would have been The Timekeeper, which is about like Father Time inventing it and like God kind of punishing him for it because everybody's fine until time was created. And the other one would be Ready Player One.
I've heard Ready Player One is so much better than the movie.
Oh, I've only ever seen the movie.
I've only ever seen the movie. And the
books.
ending of that movie where like everything fights everything, dude, it's so great.
I bet it would be really cool in the book.
Yeah, the book was awesome, but it's like they're very
Psych.
different things, so you have to like kind of keep the two separate, but they're both very great. So I love them both.
Hi, I'm Riley, and the book that I think is just the best is One Piece, Volume 1, because it just starts the whole series. It's very good.
I'm Emma, and I would have to say that my favorite book, or at least top of my list, would be The Giver. I really like the book and the movie. They're both very good.
I was too dumb for that book. I didn't understand it.
I don't know if it's like
the
my
movie was
favorite.
pretty cool. It was in like black and white.
Yeah, and then it turns to color. I really like that. But yeah,
As
I don't
you
know if
learn
it's like my
what colors
favorite,
are.
but it's the one that I
Pretty
can
cool.
remember that I liked.
Yeah.
Also, actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking of the books, 1984 by George Orwell. That one's pretty crazy.
What's that one about?
Big Brother.
The future, Big Brother,
1984.
the government watching over all your movements. You're not free anymore, basically.
Oh, no.
Yeah. A lot of parallels to right now. It's kind of creepy. Anyways, so we talk about movies because we talk about books, sorry. Because this movie that we're talking about today is based off of a book, and the title is Silver Linings Playbook. It was directed by David O. Russell, released in 2012, adapted by the novel by Matthew Quick, with notable actors such as Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, Bradley Cooper, and Chris Tucker. Basically, the plot of Silver Linings Playbook is as follows. Pat Solitano comes home after work to see his wife with another man. Pat proceeds to beat the other man, and after this, Pat would be sent to a hospital where he's diagnosed as suffering from bipolar disorder. He would be released and moved back in with his parents, but he would be reluctant to take medicine. He just wants to get his life back together with his wife. But unfortunately, she has already wrote him off, and he does not understand it. Later, he meets with his friend Ronnie and meets a girl named Tiffany, and from then they start this weird sort of
It's like a give-take relationship.
it's love. It's weird, but it's love.
To begin with, it's like a give-take relationship.
Right. So it's a weird, loving relationship. But overall, I mean, it's the story itself is like a lot of these movies. It's fairly simple. Like there's not too much crazy things going on.
It's not like Interstellar or something.
Yeah.
You know? There's one straight plot.
It's just a dude who's, going through a pretty rough patch, which is relatable,
It's
to
really
say the least.
coming to terms with his mental illness and how it affects him and such.
The man got cheated on. Can we
Oh,
just
yeah.
start with that?
Yeah, man got cheated on. And, it's something we'll definitely touch on later, but I'm curious what people think. Is that the appropriate reaction? Because to me, it is sort of. If you see your wife, this dude with your wife, you kind of want to beat the crap out of him.
I mean, I know that I wouldn't do it, but I would definitely want to do it. Absolutely.
I feel like if I had a really bad day and like the week's just been kind of wearing me thin, and it came to that, I
If
feel
it was
like
a
I would
Friday night, it could be a.
I feel like I might honestly I just have a short temper when I
If
get.
it's a Friday night after a long week, it could be that kind of situation.
But I think that's something that's interesting that this movie touches on, trauma for not only the victims but the perpetrators of trauma. That it shows that he was not quite with it as well, even though he was the perpetrator. Possible themes, definitely. There's a underlying theme of like mental illness kind of surrounds this whole movie. Family plays a part, love plays a part. The whole idea of what the silver lining is, and also I think one final thing is your mental health can be helped in a variety of ways. Like there's many outlets that you can take to sort of better yourself in that way.
There's lots of ways to deal with mental health issues, and this guy needed to learn a couple of them.
Oh yeah, or at least use one of them.
Yeah.
I don't think he was using any.
Yeah, and the service or the inpatient service that he was doing, it doesn't always help for everybody. Sometimes it makes it worse, which we kind of saw that it sort of did when he came back home.
Yeah.
I guess, just kind of starting right into the movie. The very first scene is you start in Pat's room, and Pat is played by Bradley Cooper. You start in Pat's room at the mental hospital, and the very first thing you see is a piece of paper with the word Excelsior written, which I didn't know what it meant, but it's a Latin word translated to English, and it's a motto meaning ever upward. So it's this word that he used to, I guess, kind of keep himself going within the mental hospital. Like it's this thing to like say, things are going to be all right. Just keep moving forward, ever upward. I'm going to keep pushing forward.
He had, I cannot get this out of my mind. He had some liquid in a mayonnaise jar.
Oh yeah,
and I don't know what it was.
No, yeah, when he's
walking, I think it was water.
When he's walking, and his mom comes and gets him out of the hospital.
He just has like a mayonnaise.
He has a jar of something. I don't know what it is. But
that's all I can think of whenever I think of the beginning scenes.
Okay, so what is your hypothesis? Like, what do you think it is?
I mean, I assume it's like his own water bottle. Like he's like, this is a big jar of mayonnaise. I could put water in this and then drink it throughout the day.
I don't know.
Like he made his own water bottle.
Maybe see people use like the milk jugs.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in a mental institute, I doubt they'll give you milk jugs. But if you ask for mayonnaise, I bet you could get that.
I don't know. Maybe it's a detail that adds something to him, but I'm lost on it. But yeah, his mom comes and they pick him up, and it's kind of I think the first little inkling of his bipolar disorder, this hyperactivity, he's out of touch with reality, and his hyperactivity. Because one, he almost runs his mom off the road or into traffic.
He sneaks his friend out of the mental institute.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to convince his mom, oh no, he's good. He's good. Trust me. He's good. You know me, Mom. I know this guy.
When she hears this, and she obviously tries to turn around, he puts his hand on the wheel and they almost run into another car. So I think it's that kind of first inkling of he doesn't quite know the full extent of his actions. He doesn't know how he affects people and what his actions do to affect people.
Right. And
also the love with Nikki, where he says, he's like, I'm going to read her syllabus. I'm going to talk to her. It's going to be fine.
So he gets home and then his dad goes, what's this guy doing out? Like, the mom didn't tell his dad because the dad would have been like, leave him there for a couple more months.
And when they're talking about the shop that he's opening up, the bakery or whatever, and he's like, what do you mean you didn't? What do you mean? He's like, you just told me not to tell Dad about it like 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, he's like, oh, congrats on the bakery that you're not really building very great. And he's like, you told him? And he's like, and he's like, yeah, Mom, you just told me. Remember, you told me outside the door, don't talk about Dad's booking.
So he's very like,
He's just not fully there.
Right.
That's actually a common problem. We see it later when he's
Oh,
talking to
absolutely.
Tiffany.
It's
Oh, yeah.
He's
throughout the
told
whole
not
movie.
to do
He's
something.
told not to do something, and he just doesn't care. Either he doesn't care, or he did. Maybe it's not that he doesn't care. Maybe he doesn't understand that it's. Oh,
He
I'm
might-
not supposed to. I
yeah.
wasn't supposed to say that.
He might not be fully aware of like social context
Yeah.
and such.
Because then we see it again later, besides Tiffany, when he's on that run, right?
Mm.
Which is very early in the movie. But when he goes on a run and he ends up back at the school.
Oh yeah, he gets back to
Which he
school
has
that
a
got
restraining
fired.
order. He has a
Yeah.
restraining order on the school. And you can see when I first watched the movie, he gets home and he starts running. He's like, I'm going to work out. I'm going to read Nikki's syllabus. I'm going to get in shape for it. Everything's going to be fine, guys. It's all going to be fine. Don't
It'll
even
be
worry
great.
about it. And so he runs to the school. And when I first watched the movie, he meets a fellow teacher there. And this teacher's freaking out. She's like, oh my God, you're back. I'm just going to try to get inside. And I'm like, why is she freaking out? All that this person knows, this other teacher knows, that Pat went to a mental hospital because he beat the crap out of somebody.
Yeah.
I think it's understandable that you're like, hey, I'm going to keep my distance from this guy. He might not be all there.
I think it's also for the fact it was another teacher, right?
Yes, it
Wasn't
was a history teacher at the
History.
same school.
And then another detail is like kind of in that same deal. He it shows him not taking his medication. Like he puts it under his tongue and he spits it out. And I was curious why, because I'm always under the impression, like within movies, they show you everything that happens on screen. There's a purpose. There's a reason behind it. And what was the reasoning behind this? Was it kind of a deal where, is it like where most mental patients, do they, choose not to take their medication? Is it something that they think they can beat on their own? Do they not need medication? Because I can only speak from my experience. That's what I thought. Like, I don't need medication. But eventually down the line, you're like, okay, I need help.
Yeah.
As
So a lot of times, a lot of mental health inpatients, they get comfortable with their mental state and they like being like that. So then the medicine changes them. Obviously, they're, then out of their shell, uncomfortable. But sometimes raging and sometimes just being, I don't know, just so crazy all the time. It's just how they deal and how they're just so comfortable. So they don't want to take the meds to do that. Yeah.
I found for me anyway, like when I was taking meds or medication, I never really like felt any different ever. Like no matter how high the prescription ever got, I didn't remember ever feeling different.
Like physically
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Like all I would have was I'd have the symptoms of like the other things. What are they called?
Side effects.
Thank you. The side effects. I'd have like the side effects, like I'd get morning sickness.
Oh.
As a child, I couldn't drive. I couldn't ride in a car 30 minutes after taking my meds because I would throw up in the car.
Huh.
But I'd never felt like it was helping me.
Mm.
So I was just like, why am I taking this? This is just making me sick every day.
Mm.
I knew of a kid. It was one of my coworkers' kids, and I talked about how every time he took it for ADHD, it physically changed him. Like he became a whole nother person because it changes like your personality. He was like this fun, joking
Like Jekyll
kid.
and Hyde.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so he was like this fun, joking kid. He's kind of the prankster. And the moment he took that pill, he was like this quiet kid, never talked, kind of sat in the corner and just became a completely different person. So I feel like
Goodness.
there's a whole bunch of different things.
I mean, it messes with the body chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
And you have to find that right balance. Because like I understand like not wanting to take it. And like, I agree. Like I never felt physically different, but there was, I don't know what it was, like there was some feeling, I don't know, like in my head or, what it was. It was different, like in a good way, but I couldn't describe what it was.
Yeah, but for Pat, I feel like he's like, I don't need the meds.
He's wanting to be.
It's not me.
He's wanting to beat it.
My dad's the one who's crazy.
Definitely.
And that's exactly what I was going to get to. He's like
He deflects
when
it.
he talks to because he has to go to therapy. That's
Yeah.
another thing. He has court mandated therapy, and he's talking to the therapist. Oh, and real quickly before that, when he's in the waiting room for therapy, he hears a song that starts playing.
They play one of his triggers.
And it's a song that was playing when he was like beating up the guy that was with his wife.
It was
and he
also his song, like the
his
song he
wedding.
chose for his wedding.
And he gets angry. He starts, knocking stuff over. He gets like super irritated really quick. And
Blames the therapist.
Well, the therapist did.
He
do
did
it.
on
did
purpose.
Right.
He's like, I was just trying to see if it was still one of your triggers.
that was a messed up thing to do. But yeah. And that's where he talks about, he's like, no, I don't need any medications. My dad, he's the one that needs the medication. And that's something I 100% remember thinking, though. It's like, no, I'm not the problem, dude. Family, that's the real problem. You should focus on them. And it's a real bad thing to do when you start deflecting all these issues. So yeah, as of right now, he's not taken a whole lot of accountability.
Yeah. He's like, listen, I'm not the guy that you think I am. My dad, he's the one who does all that crazy stuff. He should be on the meds. I'm just his son, It's not me who did this.
Well, and he's like,
It was my dad channeling through me somehow.
yeah. And I feel like he's just like, I just beat up one guy. Like, I just beat up a guy. It's no big
My
deal.
dad, he got kicked out of an entire football stadium, I'm not that guy.
Yeah. Definitely.
So after the therapist meeting, is that then when he goes to the dinner with his friend?
He's running around.
He goes on morning jogs.
Oh yeah, when he first gets home, it's the kid. The kid shows up with the phone the first time.
Yes.
And he's like, can I do an interview for school for bipolar disorder? And his dad just slams the door. His dad, who's played by Robert De Niro, Pat Sr., slams the door and he's like, get out.
But it really shows like it's mental health is just on the news. It's like
that kid is super insensitive as well.
That's how everybody is.
Yeah, on the news. Yeah, no, it's like,
oh, you have mental health? Here, tell me about it.
Camera right there in their face.
Throws a mic right in your mouth.
Simone
Tell me about it.
Biles
Yeah.
takes a day off. They're like, what do you have? Why?
What are you doing?
Why aren't you doing that?
Well, I didn't. My
What's wrong?
mind wasn't in it, and they're like,
Why?
What do you mean? Why?
Yeah.
What is that about? What's
Tell
that
us.
about? Explain.
Explain right now.
Yeah,
And it's
I mean,
like,
that's definitely in the Olympics. That's something that's very important, and like, it's only just now being talked about more widely.
it's more for, I think, mental health, especially in media. I mean, media right now is so backwards, but media right now is just for, like most things, it's to get a soundbite, to get like, to get a hot news story. It's like they don't take into consider the person themselves and like what they're going through. They just want to
It's
hear
to get a
They
reaction.
see a story.
Yeah,
they, don't
they see
a
the
person.
story, and
Yeah.
they don't see the person.
Yeah. All right. So he goes to the dinner.
Yeah,
And
his friend invites him to the dinner, and so he wears a Deshaun Jackson jersey to the dinner. 'Cause,
Wears
he's
a
an
football
Eagle.
jersey.
He's an Eagles fan, so he wears a Deshaun Jackson jersey.
Everybody else is dressed up nice.
Yeah, and
Which that shows you he's not really there.
And I love his-
They invite you over to dinner. And
I
you
love
wear
his
a
face as
jersey.
soon as he walks in, and she's like, "Oh, look, you wore a jersey," and his face immediately goes to his friend. He's like, "Dude, you said this was okay. You said I could wear the jersey." But then her sister
Her sister.
Tiffany comes over, and we find out pretty quick that she's also
Pretty crazy.
yeah.
She's got some mental.
His
problems as
friend
well.
Ronnie, he's like, don't mention her husband,
mention her
how
dead
Tommy,
husband,
because
Tommy.
he's like, because he's dead. How Tommy died? He's like, it was a car crash. Don't bring it up. So she walks into the room, and
I don't think he tells him how he dies. I think he just goes.
he just tells him he dies.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, her husband Tommy just died as well. So
Don't bring that up. And she walks into the room, and he was like, you look very nice. And he's like, oh, thank you. And he's like, I'm not hitting on you.
I just want to be able to tell my
Acknowledge
wife. Yeah,
I just want to acknowledge your beauty. I'm going to try to do that better with my wife. We're trying to get back together. How Tommy died. And
He
so
just
su-
so bad. It's awful.
so bad. And it's really funny because I think another cool thing that this movie does is it's funny with moments like that, but it hides some of these kind of things that we're looking for with, that define these characters within the humor, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that he's not there. Like 100%, he's in the moment, but he's just not fully there.
It's also pretty. I think it's also pretty selfish. Like,
oh yeah,
he's like,
like,
I want to
well,
know. I want to know
wanna
this
do
information,
for my wife,
and I'm gonna ask it.
Yeah,
I feel like the thing where, like, we mentioned it earlier, that he feels like attracted to her, right?
yeah,
And I feel like it's a way of him, like, putting up a barrier or wall, like, protecting him from feeling feelings for her. Like, if he makes her,
if he
not like
talks to
him.
her like an object, like
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I'm just practicing on you so that I can do this with my wife.
and saying stuff that he knows is going to offend her.
Yeah.
So there's no way she would possibly like him back. He's safe from ever having almost.
He like throws up walls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And in this scene, you kind of get the sense that he thinks he's like in control. But what's also kind of fun is that where him and Tiffany talk about like the medications and like the effects that they had on him, and
yeah, they're just going back and forth. Like, oh, did you ever take this one? Oh, no, I never had that one. But have you had this one? And they're like, oh yeah, that one.
oh man,
that
so
one gets
foggy.
you-
It's
yeah, it's
Don't you get like really into it? Like it's
yes, like it's like a full dinner conversation just between those two.
and the other two are just kind of sitting there quietly.
And then Tiffany gets angry at her sister and like stands up and is like, all right, I'm leaving. Will
Yeah.
you walk me home.
At
Like,
this moment, I'm like, oh, they're like the same person. Like, I'm like, oh, they.
oh yeah,
belong
there's a lot of
together, for sure.
similarities.
yeah. But so Tiffany stands up and is like, Pat, walk me home. So Pat he's like,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
thanks for dinner, guys. And then he just leaves. And then they walk home. And once they get there, I don't think anything happened on the walk, right? It just skips. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I think it
pretty
just
sure
and then they
she
talk about
Okay.
how she mentions something like you still wear your wedding ring,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, yeah, I'm still married, and she goes, yeah, I am too. And he's like, well, no, that's different. He's dead. I was like, oh no. He brings it. This is like the second time, but he brings this up way too many times
Too
to
much.
Tiffany. That
Yeah.
oh yeah, your husband's dead. Remember that? Your husband is dead. And super, yeah. he's
So
still not.
then she goes, well, I had a great night. You can come in and we can do it if I turn off the lights. I hate that you wore that jersey. We can do it if you turn off the lights.
Yeah.
And he goes,
Oh.
he's like, what? Hold on. What are you talking about? Where are we at?
Oh, and then he says the dead husband thing, and then she hugs him, then she slaps him, and then she walks away, and then Pat's just standing there like, what? And then he gets home, and his mom's like, "Why you got makeup on your jersey?" Yada yada yada. And he goes into his room, and then he starts to fall apart in a way.
Yeah.
But I did like that scene though, because right off the bat, Pat and Tiffany have this weird connection. Like it's off, it's weird, and it's not perfect by any means, but there's something where
There's
they're
something
connected.
there that they both can talk about together.
Well, we could talk about, like, they both have experienced, like, significant loss, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, being cheated on is nothing. Like, you can just brush off. It hurts.
Right. Yeah.
And she physically lost somebody close to her who died. So I feel like they're bonding over that mainly.
Well, it's going to be completely different. He's dead.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
I guess in a way though, they are both gone.
Yes. Because he beat somebody almost to death right in front of this lady.
And I think what's also cool.
So,
What is interesting about Tiffany is she's never diagnosed in the movie.
Yeah.
They never straight up say what
was
she
he
has.
diagnosed? Yeah, he was.
Yes.
Bipolar.
That's what he had.
But you can assume she was depressed, like severely depressed, because she's sort of moody. She likes quick fixes, like sleeping around.
Yeah,
you know, she lost her husband, and she's as in her life right now, she's just sort of drifting. She doesn't really have a plan.
Right.
She's just kind of living with her parents, and
well, she's living out in the fixed up garage, the guest house,
right next to her parents.
Completely different. There's 2 different houses, 2 different places.
I'm drawing a blank right now. What does she do for like a job?
She was at that like accounting, and then she
got
slept
fired.
with everybody in the building and got fired.
Then she threatened to
sue them.
She did it with the boss, right?
It. Yeah.
And then she threatened to sue, and then the boss said, "No, you're fired."
Yeah.
That's not where she met her ex-husband, right? That happened after.
Right. Her ex-husband was a cop.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. That's what.
And then, so I don't think Pat and Tiffany have a job at the moment.
No,
Pat definitely. No, he just got out.
Neither of them have a job. But
so then he starts to spiral. He goes home, he starts to spiral, and he's like, "Wait, do I have feelings for this girl? No, I can't have feelings for this girl. I'm married. Where's my wedding video? I got to find my wedding video right now." And then and like you said earlier, this leads to another sign of kind of this bipolar thing where he has hyperactivity at odd points. It's 3 a.m. and he's like, "I got to find my wedding video right now." And I think it's a pretty cool clip that we're going to play for you guys right now.
Pre-warning, there is some profanity in this.
Oh, yeah.
yes. Sure. Couple F words, couple other things.
Other things.
So.
Video. Mom, wake up.
What is it?
Where's my wedding video?
It's after 3 o'clock. What are you doing?
I looked in here, but this is all your shit up here for your sewing and everything. Did you put it up here?
What about in your father's study?
Don't go in my study.
Dad, not now. Would you put it in here? Makes no sense for you to put it in here.
Patty, what are you doing?
He's got all his Eagles videos. We were in one video of my wedding. Is it here? I mean,
Patty?
wait.
It's probably in the attic.
Are you going in my study?
Feels to me like you want to hide my wedding video.
No, I'll see anything
You
from
think I can't handle it?
Please stop yelling.
I'm not yelling, Mom. I'm just frustrated because I should have my fucking wedding videos.
Pat, I don't want to get
I looked over there. I already looked all over there. I'm not calming down. I don't give a fuck who you're. I'm not calming down. Anybody can wake up. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it. Let the whole neighborhood wake up. I don't care.
Stop it! Stop
No, Mom.
What's going on?
Hey, it's my wedding. It's my wedding video. Oh, I can't watch a video. No. Mom, what the fuck you doing? You fucking no.
So in that scene, Pat is basically just kind of running around the house at 3 a.m. looking for a wedding video, and his mom and dad are understandably...
They were trying to sleep.
They were trying
They were
to sleep.
completely asleep when he started all that.
And they're understandably concerned, so his mother tells him to, like, hey, calm down, you need to calm down, go to sleep. And it gets really uncomfortable really quick. I think just because of how real it is. Like, there's like, he smacks his head and he's like, that song is in my head. And, I can't get that song out of my head. And then he like turns around and that thud you heard was he accidentally hit his mom like in the face with his elbow. And she falls down. His dad comes in, understandably pissed, and smacks him. And then there's like smacking each other
there's
around.
A whole smacking contest between the two.
And
as everybody in the neighborhood is now woken up.
Yeah.
At 3 in the morning.
It cuts to like the neighborhood and lights are coming on and everybody's like, what's going on? What's going on? And I think it's a kind of, in a way, it's a perfect scene because throughout this, subconsciously, Pat has been trying to suppress these emotions and saying everything is all right, but here's this breaking point where it all just kind of explodes. And also the kid shows back up with the recorder. Is this a bipolar episode?
I was about to ask.
Is he having a
Did he show
bipolar
back
episode?
up?
And then Robert De Niro chases him back to his house. And he says something like,
He's like,
if you ever come over with that recorder again, I'm going to smack it over your head, and then I'm going to ask you how it was getting that recorder smacked over your head.
yeah, that was a pretty good scene. But
Does that kid show back up ever again? I can't remember.
I don't think. I think he scares him away.
No, I mean, I would be scared, dude. This old man's yelling at me, running after me. So then after that, I don't think they ever find it. The cop shows up.
Yes,
Yeah.
the cop does show up.
And he tells him, "You chill out, or else," because like he's
Dude,
been
send
assigned to
you
the
back immediately.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, "I've been assigned to your case." And yeah, basically, you just need to chill out and you need to stop. And then and then like the next day he takes the medication.
Well, yeah. Now he started taking it regularly now because he hit his mother,
Yeah.
and then he attacked his father.
I think it's the first time he realized he's like, holy crap, I'm out of control. I need to change something.
Yeah.
And then he goes running.
And that's where
Oh crap! No, this happened earlier, but I think we forgot to talk about the scene where he's reading.
Oh, the
Ernest
syllab-
Hemingway. It's like the first couple of days he's back.
So
but
it's when he went on that run to the school.
Yeah.
And the lady was very
and he-
scared of
yeah,
him.
and then he gets home.
He gets the syllabus for his ex-wife's classes so that he can read the syllabus and then be like, hey, I'm like basically in your class. We're basically back together, right? But so he gets the books and he starts reading through her syllabus. And he gets to Ernest Hemingway's, what book is it? What's the book?
Wish I knew. That's a good question.
I don't
can't
know.
remember.
I don't know. Remember
Okay.
the name.
Well, he reads it, and then at the end of it, like something bad happens, and he like chucks it out the window.
He just the F, and then he throws
throws the
shatters the
Yeah.
window.
out the window, and then and he's like, he bursts into on his parents again, like while they're sleeping. And he's like, "Can you believe that she's teaching them this? The kids are never gonna learn that this is not real. You have to always look for the silver lining." He's like, "You always have to look for something ahead of you," and he's like, "This book shows that like it's awful."
A Farewell to Arms.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a book about a guy who serves in a war, and he's going to go home to his wife, and he survives the war after being blown up, and then I think he gets home, and like something bad happens to a wife, or something bad happens to him, like something dies. So it's not a happy ending.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
he's
kind of like what she did to him.
Yeah, it's basically
She's showing her students.
Look, I did this to my husband.
She's like,
Read
hypothetically,
this book and then tell me what the girl should do in this situation.
hypothetically, if this happened in real life, what would you guys do?
So that's just another kind of showing of his hyperactivity and his
Yeah, he's up at 4 a.m. reading her entire syllabus.
and also not caring about his parents or the neighborhood by chucking the book out the window.
man's desperate, bro.
He shatters the window.
Doesn't he have to like fix it the next morning? Like,
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's after the fight with his dad. Then he like gets everything back on track.
Yeah.
He starts taking his meds. He fixes the window.
Starts running.
He starts going on runs and all of
And
that.
then-
So he like focuses his energy somewhere else.
Then as he's running that morning after he takes his medication, he runs into Tiffany again. Because, they live pretty close to each other.
I don't think so. I think she lives on like the other side of town.
Are you
He-
sure?
It seems like he's running all the way through town.
I don't know.
I don't actually know.
I think just around the neighborhood.
I feel
Okay.
like they're fairly
Couple-
close
couple
because
blocks.
They're close.
Couple blocks,
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
I think so.
like major city blocks, but yes.
Unless
like 3 miles or so.
unless she followed him.
True, she
Well,
could have just
She
showed
was
up.
in her neighborhood. He was in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
He ran past her house.
And he's going through some stuff, and so he doesn't want to talk to her. So, like a little kid, he runs away from her. He's like, "Stop following me!" And
she takes a shortcut.
She catches back up with him,
She takes a shortcut because she knows the neighborhood.
and then I don't know. They say some nasty things to each other. Or no, he says some like, I think he calls her a slut or something.
I think he goes like, she's like trying to like be like, "Oh, we're similar. How are you dealing with this?" And he
Yes,
goes, "We're
yes.
completely different. Your husband's dead.
Yes.
I'm gonna get back with my
Oh,
girl."
and she says, "At least I'm not the one least I'm not the one in a loony bin. And he goes, oh, at least I'm not the big slut. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, because he thinks that he's going to get back with his wife, or his ex, now, the entire movie. That's what it is. He's like, I'm getting back with her. I'm doing this so I can get back with her.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is why he starts focusing his energy somewhere else, and he starts going on those runs, and he does those meds because he has the mindset that he's going to get back with his ex. But everybody around him is like, no, you're not.
Nah, she's gone, dude.
This
She has a
just-
restraining order against you.
This just hit my head. I don't know why this hit my head. Why? It could be just his mindset because we know he's not exactly straight in the head. Why would a chick that you beat up her lover with, she was obviously married to you and decided to cheat on you?
Yeah, why would somebody who ever cheated on you go back to you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Well, she wanted to see if he still loved her. That's I think that's probably what's in his head. That's why she did it, because she thought maybe he doesn't love me anymore. If he loved me, he would come in and he would do something.
yes, I think so. And so he's trying to prove.
He's
He's
got
like,
he's got that
Look,
built.
I did this.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to fix myself because this was a bad thing that I did. So now we can be together again.
But at the same time, it's like she put the restraining order against him because of how obsessed he is
Right.
with her,
Yeah.
really. So she kind of knows that he
Not
would
all-
do anything for
not,
her.
Not all right. Yeah, and then Tiffany has a line which I thought was kind of interesting. She says something like, I think she says like, yeah, I was a big slut, and like
Nothing wrong with that. Something
She's
like
like,
that.
I love that part of
there
myself.
are like dirty
Yes, yes.
there are dirty parts of myself, but I like that about myself.
And she goes, can you say the same? And he's like, what? Me, the beating up guy? The guy who beat the crap out of this other dude? No, I don't like that part about me. So that like shows that they are different,
Yeah.
but like they're not that different.
And then I don't know when this happens. I don't know if it's a couple scenes later or when they see each other running again. Oh no, he goes back to therapy and he's talking to his therapist about Tiffany and his ex. And his therapist kind of tells him about like to get a plan, and he's like, well, maybe if your ex sees that you're working with this girl Tiffany, maybe she sees you're improving. And so, treat her nice for now. And I think they're running again, and he's running, and she's trying to talk to him, and he just keeps running. Like he doesn't answer, and they finally get to the diner, and he's finally like, "Hey, you want to go to dinner?"
And then she goes, yeah, 6:00 tonight. It's
Yeah.
like they were at the diner.
And then she runs away. And it's like it's the weirdest little relationship, but it works somehow.
Yeah, it really does. But
Um,
throughout the movie, I was like, they're
plays
kind of
Tiffany?
meant to be.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Okay, she plays crazy pretty well.
Oh yeah.
She plays not psycho, but a little crazy pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Can we
Nothing like Jack Nicholson.
No,
But
I mean, that's psycho. It's a little different.
Can we talk about their meal choices at that dinner?
he gets
Well,
He gets
raisin,
raisin bran, saying it's not a date. He goes, I got raisin bran just so that you know it's not a date.
But hey, he puts cereal first, so
That is
thank
true.
God, thank God for that.
He puts cereal in the bowl first. And
Does
then the
he?
milk.
Does she? I forgot. Does she expect him to pay for the tab? Like,
I don't know.
I forgot if like he paid for it. If they paid for it separate. If they even
They
showed
paid
that.
for it separately.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure. Because
'Cause it's not a date. It's not a date.
right,
The
because it's not a
guy-
date.
Right.
Yeah.
He got raisin bran, so it's not a date.
Right.
And then this conversation that they have in the diner,
Oh.
it goes places.
Yeah, it's
Starts out fine.
They
it's
d-
fine.
They discover things about each other. They find similarities about each other, and I think it also is a good scene that it shows off both of their problems that they've
Right.
kind of faced. I think I'm not sure how it really develops, but Pat talks about trying to get a letter to his ex, and Tiffany's like, "Oh, I could do that because I
yeah,
see her.
she's
I
like,
see her
I see her
sometimes."
all the time.
Yeah.
Her and
Um,
my sister hang out, so I could definitely get her that.
and he's
Like-
like, "Oh, holy crap, that'd be amazing."
But she wants something from him in return.
Yes.
Yes.
He's like, why would I do that? I'm just trying to have you do this one thing for me. Why would I have to do anything for you?
And that's where the selfishness kind of
Oh yeah.
This comes into play.
And then somehow they start talking about her sleeping around in the.
Does she tell him about Tommy then? I feel like she does, right?
It's possible.
I think she does.
I think a little
'Cause
bit, and it just gets...
every time he sees her, I feel like he just
Tommy
goes,
gets bring-
so how'd Tommy die?
Anyway, so she goes into pretty great detail about her sleeping around, and
Well, yeah, she tells why she slept around.
yeah, because she was
And that
depressed.
was-
She was depressed. She was like looking for
Well,
a
it's
feeling.
part of it's just because of why Tommy died. They hadn't been having.
She tells that a little bit later. She tells that to Pat a little bit later when
Okay.
they're dancing.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry, my bad.
It's all good. But I think it also shows a thing in Pat to where he thinks he is better than Tiffany at this point, but
Yeah, I mean, you can always.
it
you can
reveals
see
that he isn't because he inquires about it. He's like, "How many were there? Were there any girls?"
Yeah, he's like, oh, Aunt. What's his name? What's the girl's name?
Which one?
His ex-wife, Nikki.
Nikki.
Yes.
Okay, he's like, oh yeah, Nikki hated when I talked like this. So how many were there?
And he's just like over there, like, "Oh my god." And she says something like, yeah, I'll just say like, you're like me. And he's like you?
We are completely different.
I hope to God you don't tell Nikki that. Yeah. And he's like, well, why? And then he says it straight up because you're crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy.
Like, look at what you've done. You did all of this. You're the crazy one here between the two of us.
And she flips out.
That's completely reasonable.
Yeah, and she takes her arm and she just swipes everything off the table. In a public diner. It's like
His Raisin Bran is all over the floor.
I would be pissed as a waiter.
yeah.
I'd be pissed about my Raisin Bran.
That's like it's like the 10 o'clock shift, and you see that happen. And you're like, God, I quit. This is.
That was perfectly good raisins.
And she walks around the diner, and he's like standing there, like, what the hell? And she flips him off, and he's trying to chase her down. And as he's chasing her down,
before he leaves the diner, the
yeah.
lady comes up, like the one who took their order. She goes, "So that's it's a Raisin Bran and 2 coffees, is that right?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
okay.
Because he's stuck with her bill, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe I was her plan the entire time just to freak out and give him the bill.
So smart.
But as he's tracking her down, she starts yelling like, he's harassing me. So that gets, a crowd of people to like,
Oh yeah.
what's going on over here? And
They're
then
in front of the movie theater.
and then the
hears-
camera and the sound both do a really cool thing where the camera starts to like sway around a bit, almost like it's out of control. And
the
the
music,
music starts playing. The song starts playing, and he's like, you can see it, like he's tightening up. He's like, his arms are close to him. He has his head down. He's shutting down, like, because he doesn't know what to do. He either freaks out or he shuts down. And Tiffany can kind of
She
sees
notices,
this. She
yeah.
sees what's happening, and then the cop. I hate this cop. He shows up and he's like, "You want to go back to Baltimore? Are you going to keep messing up? Do I have to take you back?"
It's like, is this guy bugging you, ma'am? Is he harassing you, ma'am? And she's like, no,
Nah,
it was
it's
just
kids.
a joke.
It's kids.
Yeah.
Kids are dumb. And she says something like, "Are you going to let that song rule your life?" And she's like, breathe, calm down. And then you hear the song slowly fade away. And I was like, oh, they kind of need each other. She needs him. Like, yeah, I think
She's the
I
Black
think
Widow to his Hulk. She calms him
Oh
down.
my goodness.
Exactly.
It's an Avengers reference.
Yeah.
Right.
Attaboy, right?
I watch movies.
But I think this scene proves a little bit that he needs her. But you know what? No, they both need each other. I feel like they both kind of need each
Definitely.
other equally.
She's
Because
like
he brings her out of her slump as well as she brings him out of his slump.
Yeah, she's been like the one true thing that's like been able to cure or at least stop his like rampages, right?
Mhm.
Because the only time he ever came out of a rampage before this is when
he hit his mother.
Yeah, that's the only time, and that's when you take the oh shoot moment.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
It was like the music instantly stopped. This was like a subtle fade, which was much nicer.
Yeah, because he never lashes out with her, really. I mean,
Right, he gets annoyed with her, definitely.
yeah, but he doesn't go crazy.
Yeah. So they then make the deal that he'll show up to her place to do whatever she needed him to do.
Dance competition.
Well,
Dance
he doesn't know that yet.
Well, yeah, but that's
He
what
doesn't.
it is.
Yeah, he doesn't know that. He's like, "Ooh, actually, just take the letter, and then I'll just go." Once he figures out that it's the dance, because he doesn't want to dance.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, the NFL season is going on, and his whole family is super obsessed with the Philadelphia
his
Eagles.
dad's doing books.
Yeah.
So he's betting on all the games.
And his dad has juju going
Yeah.
on in the house where
He-
he
Very
places remotes in certain
Heavily.
places of the house during the game, and it's like very superstitious, which I think everybody, if you're like super into sports, everybody does that to a certain extent where like you wear the jersey. Like why do people wear jerseys in the game? It's like, it's fun. You're cheering them on. It's not like,
Show your support.
Yeah.
yeah.
We were superstitious the other day. Remember the game? We were losing at halftime. We all left.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And we won.
We won.
And we
So,
won. So now
I didn't leave. You guys can never go to the game again.
I don't know about it, Riley.
So I just can't go to games anymore, which is fine. I don't care.
It's all Devin's fault.
I don't want to. I don't want to have fun anyway.
Yeah.
But
So
the performances, I think, in this really shined a light because Robert De Niro, like, there was. I think it's the day where like Pat comes into the living room and he's like kind of uppity and he's like he's feeling good and his dad's like, why you so up? Like, what are you good? He's like, I'm happy, Dad. I'm taking the medication. He's like, did you take too much medication? He's like,
how much you
Dad.
taking? Are you taking the right amount?
He's like, Dad, if I took too much, I'd be on the floor. And then he takes like one of Pat Senior's envelopes, and
Oh yeah.
then his wife goes, "Oh no, somebody called the FBI."
Well, yeah, because
he's like, "No, don't make fun of it.
my
This
envelopes.
is my business. Don't
he
make
keeps
fun of it."
money in his envelopes. Because, so yeah, he's like, oh yeah, the money I just put on your desk. That just shows he's not there. He just took the money out of this guy's envelope that's numbered
Yeah,
and then put it on a desk.
He's like, I put it on your desk. It's fine. I put it on your desk.
and it shows every performance in this movie. I think is pretty great. And he goes to like Tiffany's back house thing, knocks. She's not there, so he goes to where her parents are, and her parents automatically assume that he's like this kind of creep that
Yeah,
just
he's
kind of
one of
wants to
the-
sleep with her because she has a past of kind of bringing dudes to her place,
It's just a history.
and
He's
another
like, no,
and then another
we're
guy.
friends.
and-
We're friends, and they're like,
I'm just here to give her this letter. No big deal. Then another dude shows up, and he's like an actual creep.
yeah,
And Pat basically just tells him to like buzz off. Like I think he says something like this. She's a bird with a broken wing, and it's being mended right now, and you're trying to mess with that. Come on, let's go. Let's get out of here. Little does he know that she's listening just
To the
right
whole
around the corner.
conversation.
And then as Pat's going back to his house, she runs in front of him. So like she was trying to like get his attention. And then she talks about how she can't give the letter because like I do all these things for everybody and nobody does anything for me.
But was she, when she heard Pat say that, she was upset, right? Or was she
I think
okay
was
with
happy.
it?
She smiled.
She was
She
happy that
smiled?
he stood up for her
Okay, yeah.
because
I
that's the
couldn't
first time
remember.
that anybody has really done that for
Right.
her.
And she can't give the letter because I think in that moment she starts to like him.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that and it's also illegal. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's actually illegal.
Yeah.
Wait, how's it legal?
What's
It's
illegal?
illegal because she has a
That's
restraining order against him.
And that's
So
contact.
contacting her is illegal.
Ah, that makes more sense.
And then that's when they have a little talk about like 58 minutes in, where they talk about somebody else, but they're really talking about themselves, which they do that a lot in this movie where they like talk about other people, but in a way they're
Yeah.
saying what they think and what they feel.
Yeah. Like the letter.
Mm-hmm.
So then he starts doing the dance and stuff, and it's actually like helping him
Yeah.
because
Because
it's a
something you pointed out that I didn't catch the first time, which I think is really cool. When he gets home that first night, he's like, I got to find the wedding video.
Oh,
Got to
yeah.
find it right now. And he's restless. He can't fall asleep. After he does the dance thing with Tiffany for a couple of days, you see Nikki's syllabus on the corner of his bed, and he like flops over to like get a better resting position, and the books fall onto the ground, and he doesn't care. I think that's a really good thing, where it symbolizes he's not really focused on that anymore.
Yeah.
He's focused on his thing with Tiffany, and
it's a
he
really
can sleep,
cool
he can
camera
rest,
angle and stuff. Yeah.
and I think that really does help when you have problems with mental issues. Is focusing on
Something that you can control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It really just goes for anybody, honestly. There's a lot of people nowadays that worry about stuff they can't control, and they just sit here being anxious about it.
Yeah.
So it never helps.
Then as they're dancing, there's a song by Bob Dylan and Johnny Cash.
During the montage.
Yeah, the montage and the dancing. It's called "Girl from the North Country," and it's kind of about a song about a guy falling in love with a girl. And I think that's exactly what's happening in that scene. Is then his friend
Then he gets the letter.
comes and they start. There's some good comedic stuff.
Oh yeah. His buddy from the institute comes and
Tells
he's
him to
like,
black it up, Pat. You got black up the dance.
Yeah, he
Chris
starts giving
Tucker
him, like,
is
some-
pretty great in that movie.
Some pointers on like how to dance better.
Doesn't he kind of get jealous when he's dancing
Oh,
with
yes.
the girl?
100%, because he's dancing with Tiffany. He's like, all right, you're done.
Yeah, they were basically grinding up on each other, and he's like, okay, all right, that's enough.
Yeah.
We can practice that. We'll do that later. But so
And like you said, that montage, it could have been a really boring, slow moment, but that music really kept it going,
Yeah.
which was cool. It kept that scene moving.
then he gets the letter, right? He gets
Yes.
the second letter.
And it's letter from Nikki, and it talks about how
She's glad that he's doing this
doing better.
with Tiffany,
Yeah,
and that she might go see them at the show.
the dance
right?
thing. Yeah, something. Well,
Well,
I don't know if it mentions that, but it talks about the syllabus, and she's happy that she's doing better, and she's scared. I think
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the important.
she's
She's
scared
scared
about
about getting seeing him and being together again, which we find out is ironic later.
Yeah.
Um.
So then they do their dance move stuff.
Oh, and then Pat Senior wakes him up one day because Pat, his son, is like slumped in his bed because
Yeah.
he's tired, and then Pat Senior wakes him up and to ask him to come to the game with him, and he's like, "It's not because I want to watch the game; it's because I want to talk to you. It's because I want to get into these things." And I think it's a really cool scene about
he uses the
with-
game
with-
as an
yeah.
opening to talk to his son.
with dads and sons. Sometimes they have difficulties like finding
Common ground.
common ground, similar things they talk about, and I think it's a kind of a sweet scene about how most of the time that's what guys do. Like they say, "No, we just go drinking together. That's all we're doing." It's really time to like talk about things.
Yeah.
And then is this where the bet comes?
I think he already had a bet on the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And
well, he lost all of it when they went to the football game in person, and they lost.
Because he wanted Pat to go, and he's like, "You solid? Yeah, I'm solid, Dad. I'm not going to do anything bad." Because
So
according to
they
Pat
wanted him
Senior,
to go
Pat
to the
is
Giants game, right?
yeah,
It was the Giants versus the Eagles.
and Pat Senior thinks that his son Pat is the good luck charm.
Yeah.
So
So they
he
needed
sends
him
him to
there
the
in
game.
person.
Things do not go as planned. There's some bad dudes there. They
They
or
make
start
fun of
his therapist.
his therapist. Yeah, he meets his therapist there, and they're like huge Eagles fans as well. And they're like, I'll start.
Then they
partying
start
together.
beating up his brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Pat, and again, fair enough. If I saw somebody hitting my brother, I would probably get in there too.
I mean, it's
But
completely
obviously he gets
understandable.
kicked out of the game. Just can't do that. Can't beat people up in the parking lot of football games.
I honestly thought that he was going to be completely fine. Like I really thought that he had a turning point.
Yeah.
especially working.
Well, he would have been fine.
dancing.
If it wasn't for those dudes.
The guys are the ones that started the fight with his therapist and stuff.
Right.
And he saw his,
He
They were
wasn't
picking on
going.
and then he saw his brother get hit, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, that's my brother." He runs in, and he like goes like full Batman on
Well,
him. Like
so-
he grabs that guy's, and he's like, "Bam, bam, bam!" Before the guy lands he hits him 3 times before he falls.
He
to the
didn't fight until
Right.
Yeah, because
his brother went down. Like his
Yeah.
brother's like, "Stay over there. Don't
Yeah.
don't
And he's
come
like,
in."
"Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine." He's got his head up. He's like, "I'm fine. I'm gonna be okay." And his brother gets hit, and he's like, "All right."
I feel like he's fine. Like I feel like since he was there with this therapist and his therapist wasn't upset with him or giving in to talks, I feel like
At the end, like after it, he goes home and his therapist is like, "Oh yeah, he's fine. I mean, it wasn't his fault.
His dad's
His
losing
dad
it.
is
He rips off the jersey.
pissed.
It's over. It's done. Which they did lose the
Oh,
bet, which was a
they
lot
did,
of money.
yeah.
And then another bet happens.
Yes.
And also Tiffany shows up because she's pissed that
Yeah, he
Pat was
skipped
late
out
for
on her.
the dance session. So everybody's in the house now. And so they make another bet, which
She has all of these
right.
She has all of these statistics
Because Pat Senior
and
thinks that
thinks that it's like bad juju
bad
for him
juju.
not to be at the game.
She gives him proof that every time they were together,
Something
Eagles
good
won.
has happened
Eagles won.
for Pennsylvania's. Wait,
yeah,
what's
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
for the Phillies. Any like baseball, football, basketball, or whatever.
So then he makes it a crazy bet because they're going to bet on the football game where the
only
Philadelphia Eagles play the
football versus
Cowboys,
The Cowboys.
which was an impossible game because this was a real game that happened, back in the day. So it was kind of an impossible game. Then the second bet is Tiffany and Pat have to get at least a 5 out of 10 on their dance score, and they have to do them both, not one or the other. They have to do both, which it's an insane bet.
Yeah, it's nuts. So he takes it, I guess. He takes it, and then Tiffany and him are like, we have to do well now.
So what do we do? We have and then Pat doesn't like it, so he leaves.
Yeah.
And she says something that gets her caught. She says, "You're not a stand-up guy right now," and he's like,
If it was me reading the signs, I would see that you're not a stand-up guy right now.
"Where have I read that?" She
Yeah.
goes to the letter. He's like, "Oh my God, Nikki!" Or
It's
no,
like word
Tiffany,
for word.
Tiffany has
if
been
it was me
writing
seeing
the letters.
Signs. So like, yeah, he puts it together. 2 + 2 = 4, and he's like, she's writing me these notes.
And so that's throwing him through a loop. And then meanwhile in the kitchen, Tiffany's like, "We have to tell him that Nikki's going to be there." So he shows up. And she's like, "I don't like that." And the mom goes, "I don't like this. This is a lie." He's like, "What do you?" And then Pat Senior goes, "What do you mean you don't like messing around? You told Tiffany where he was the other day."
Yeah, true.
So they go to the dance competition, and lo and behold, Nikki does show up, and this
Yeah.
throws Tiffany into a spiral.
She was not supposed to show up.
So she goes and immediately drinks, and she starts hitting on guys, and she's
But
like,
honestly, I don't know why she showed up.
That's why I'm wondering. Like, why
does Nikki
She came
show
with
up?
her
She
friend.
has the restraining
Tiffany's
order.
sister is Nikki's best friend.
Right, but it's like
Tiffany's sister wanted her best friend to be there
Mm-hmm.
with her just to see Pat. Because she's like, "Oh, he's been doing this thing with Tiffany. He's actually doing much better now. You should come see him."
and ruin everything.
and ruin everything.
Yeah.
I feel like she did that on purpose just to get a reaction, honestly. I don't think it was out of genuine like he's doing better. I think it was just I honestly think it was pure.
It's possible.
It is possible.
I don't know. It does make sense to me that she showed up.
I mean, she's related to Tiffany. Tiffany's bat crap crazy.
All right.
Yeah.
So they do the dance.
And
The music-
first the Eagles win,
Oh yes, yeah. The
and they
Eagles win.
beat the crap out of the Cowboys.
He gave them 15 points.
Yeah, so the Eagles had to beat the Cowboys by at least
more
50.
than 15.
And they do. They demolish them. I don't remember what the score was, but it was, as football standards go, it was a butt whooping.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it was like 35-0.
so Pat Senior's
35,
freaking out the Philadelphia Eagles win, and then they go to the dance. And another thing I'll let you say, Riley, about their song choices. I thought that was a good.
The music they chose was very interesting. I mean, for them, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody before them was like, "Ooh, it's a tango," or it's a waltz.
It's one song.
It's
one song
one
throughout.
piece of a song. Yeah, theirs they changed in the middle. So like at the beginning, it was like a nice waltz type music, and then in the middle, it turns into like hip hop, which really shows like they aren't always there. It's like this is like bipolar music for two bipolar people who are dancing. And then it goes back to like a waltz at the end, which
Right.
is just really
Just
interesting.
a very weird dance.
Yeah.
Like you said, it shows their disorders,
Yeah.
in a way. And then they get to the score, and they get like 4.5, 4.8.
No, they get a 5.1.
They have to get a
a
5.
4.9,
Okay.
4.8, a 5.0, and then the last one's a 5.2, I think. So it averaged out to a 5.
Average out of all those scores, averaged out to a 5. And then their family, and then Pat and Tiffany, and they're the only ones in the entire crowd that
sit there
freak
for
out.
just
And
a
they're like,
second, and then they
"Yes!"
go,
And the announcer goes, "Why are they so happy about a 5?"
Yeah, wasn't like one of like the girls right next to him goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
yeah, she's like, I'm so sorry. You really tried. You did so good. And then they like freak out because they're so happy.
So they win the bet, and they get all this money, and now Pat Sr. can open up his thing, and
Tiffany leaves.
Tiffany and Pat hug,
Oh, yeah.
and then Pat sees Nikki, and Pat's like, "All right, well, I'll be back. I'll be gone real quick." And he goes and talks to Nikki, and it doesn't let us hear what he says to her. It instead focuses on Nikki, which is maybe why they cut out that audio with him talking to Nikki. That's not the point of the scene. Instead, they focus more on Tiffany. She's like, tearing up, and she's like, "All right, I'm going to leave." Then,
But it doesn't tell us what he says to Nikki.
yeah, what Pat
But,
says
like,
to Nikki.
Then he
He goes back. He's like, "Hey,
goes and
where'd
he, like-
Tiffany go?"
Yeah, he
And-
like shakes her hand and then he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back to his dad, and his dad's like, "Listen, son, you're making a huge mistake."
Brett, go get that girl right now.
Yeah, and he's like, That's what I was doing.
That's what I'm gonna
Where's
do."
Tiffany?
So he runs out again. They're running together.
Yeah, she's running away, and he's running after her.
She gives and he
He
wants to
gives
give
her
her
a
one
note.
more letter, and she's like, "Just give it to her yourself." She reads it, and it's like the letter. It's like, "Dear Tiffany," and she's like, "Oh."
He goes, "I know you wrote the letters." She goes, "Oh."
And she's like, He's like, "I'm sorry it took me so long to catch up. I love you." And it's like, "Oh,
Yeah, he's like, "I wrote this like
a
2
week.
weeks ago."
You let me lie to you for a week." He's like, "I was trying to be romantic," and I'm like, "No, that's not what that
That's
is.
not how that works.
What do you guys think he said in Tiffany's ear? Because I think it was
Tiffany's ear or Nikki's ear?
Nikki's.
Nikki's.
Yeah,
Sorry, Nikki's. I think it was something along the lines of, like, glad we aren't together, or like something
Hey,
just like
you've been
horrible.
awful. Thank you so much.
Not like that,
I
but
feel
really
like-
like
like-
thank you for cheating on me, or something. Like this is your fault, or I don't even know.
I feel like maybe it's something because he's sort of leveled out now. It's probably like a deal, like it's something like, sucks what happened between us. You go live your life. I got a pretty good life now, so I'm gonna leave you here.
I mean,
I don't need to be with you anymore.
He's very self-centered still. Like, I mean, he's better, but he's still like. So I assume it's something like, "Hey,
At least I
I'm
found
doing,
true love."
I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I hope that you are too, but I'm gonna go and be with Tiffany.
Yeah.
Because I found somebody better than you,
Yeah.
or something like that.
You ruined me. She saved me. Bye.
I feel like he just says, like, apologizes for, like, traumatizing her and whatnot.
Oh yeah, no, she is screwed up now. He beat somebody in front of her.
Yeah, I feel like he's just straight up apologizing.
You know what? He has nothing to apologize for.
Yes, he does. He
I am
beat
full
some guy.
on. I am completely on his side. She is in the wrong, 100%. It is
She's
her
in the
fault.
wrong, but he beat a guy.
Who cares?
Bloody.
It's her fault. It's straight up her
That's
fault.
an issue.
You know what? He did nothing wrong.
I don't-
Straight up, he
oh.
did nothing wrong.
I don't think either one. I don't think either one of their hands are completely clean.
Yeah, no,
She cheated and
absolutely
she
not.
beat the crap out of a guy.
We forgot a very important detail with the
What's
whole
that?
cheating scene. He told him,
Oh,
you
yeah.
should probably leave out of his
guy-
own house.
The
Out
guy
of his
that
own
Pat beat
bathroom.
up goes, "You should probably leave now."
Oh, and he's like, yeah. So I snapped and I beat the crap.
It was his house.
Yeah, she was in the wrong. 100%. That's
Well,
that's
alright.
BS.
So at the end of the movie,
There's a really
They-
good quote that I like.
Yeah.
Because it's Sunday, football game's on. Mom's making Krabby Cakes. Is that what she says?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, something like that.
So
She's
things are
making
good.
Snacks, pass arounds.
Him and Tiffany are together. His best friend's there. Dad's there watching the game. It's all good. And the Pat has a quote at the very end of the book, which is, I think, pretty cool. And it goes, "The world will try to break your heart 10 ways to Sunday. That's guaranteed." And I can't begin to explain that or the craziness inside myself and everybody else. But guess what? Sunday is my favorite day again. I think of everything everyone ever did for me, and I feel like a very lucky guy. And I think that's a perfect way to end it, because no matter what you're going through, you have to keep in perspective, like, what the people who love you did for you.
It goes along with his motto as well, Excelsior, which is ever upwards.
Keep going.
So,
All
all right.
I thought it was pretty darn good.
What would
Like,
you
I
rate
didn't
it?
expect much out of it when I watched it. Because I first watched this movie when I was 16, 17. And I thought it was, like, really good. I didn't expect much out of it, and kind of really blew me away. With its, one, the performances, every single person in the movie, 10 out of 10 performances. Very good. The portrayal of mental illness in the movie, I encourage, everybody to do their own research, but from what I found, the portrayal of mental illness in this movie is pretty good as well. So I think that, the performances, the portrayal of mental illness, the story of family, which is nothing new, but I think it always works. So
It's done well in this movie.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I ended up writing 7 out of 10, but I think I'm going to go with 8.
It's a good rating.
I was thinking 8, but I might bump it up to a 9 because after thinking about it, I really like this movie. I think it was done well. I think the actors were amazing. I like the plot of it, and I just like the feel of the movie. So I think I'm gonna go with a 9.
You guys are nuts.
Yeah,
know.
that's a little generous, honestly.
It's a good. No, it's a really really good movie. I'd give it like a 7 or an 8, but
So I'll bump
like a
it back
9
down
is
to an 8.
nuts.
Okay, I'll bump it down to an
Yeah,
8. It's an 8.
nine's like we're getting Shawshank.
9 would be like Matrix. I don't know. I haven't seen the Matrix in a long
We all
time.
have different
I
opinions.
would.
I haven't seen the Matrix in years. I'd say probably like a 7.5.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie. Lots of real life scenarios can be played out through the movie. Well, by that I mean they portray real life scenarios
Definitely.
very well.
I just don't see a lot of mistakes with it, honestly. Like
Yeah.
continuity stuff, sound errors, mistakes. Like
Yeah, the camera work is very well.
I don't see, and if there are, it's
The
a lot
book,
of it's a lot
the
of
book's
nitpicks.
gone the next day. That's the only continuity error I see. When he throws it out the window, it's just gone.
Somebody
He
stole
doesn't-
it.
Well,
They probably went out and grabbed it and cleaned it up. Right? I'm keeping my 9, by the way. I'm not.
all
putting
right,
it
hey,
down.
you do you, man. You do you.
Yeah, I've seen the movie so many times though. My rating just goes down each time, just because it's like, I like movies that will just continuously keep my attention. I'm gonna rate this a 7, but the first time I watched it, probably 8.5. But now it's just really a 7 because it doesn't keep my attention as much. It is really good. It, again, like Riley said, it portrays really good real life stuff, real life mental illness stuff. But it's just kind of a little bit weird and a little bit, I don't know. I don't really like what they did with Nikki and how she wasn't in the movie at all, except for when he had flashbacks and then at the end at the dance. I wish they would have elaborated a little bit more on their relationship and maybe got some closure or something. I don't really like the way how they put that, but otherwise, yeah, it was a really good movie.
I think that's something I definitely agree with. I mean, I think the first part I can understand why they didn't have Nikki there because the story wasn't,
Right.
about her.
Right.
But I definitely agree with the closure thing. Like I'm not a huge fan of not hearing what he had to say.
I know, yeah, that drove me nuts.
I kind of wish we got more of, like you said, closure. But yeah, definitely a really fantastic movie.
If you have any movie suggestions or any comments, anything you would like to tell us, our email is silverscreenpod@gmail.com. Again, that's for any suggestion for movies, anything that you might want to, shoot us our way. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening.
Thank you very much.